Now, so Islam is a religion of law. So then there are two simple questions we need to answer. What are its laws? Where are these laws found? Right? What are the laws? Where are they found? Well, they're found in legal books. You can download them and read them for yourself. You don't have to be a doctor to go and read about some legal stuff on Wikipedia, that a broken leg involves a broken bone and the treatments. You don't have to know all the ins and outs to go read these books. You don't need 7 years of study at university. So I'm going to pick a very difficult topic. I'm going to talk about infant sex in Islam. It is perfectly legal in Islam to have sex with infants because this was made legal by Muhammad himself. Right? Now, we could go to Islam QA, which is the world's most popular Islamic fatwa site, and they make it very explicit. There is no discussion. They are very clear that this is perfectly legal. Infants are fair game to adult males. But what I'm going to pick here is we're going to Pakistan. We're going to look at the current Pakistani court system, which uses several Islamic law books. We're going to pick the second most popular Islamic law book used in Pakistan. I mean, so this is from a paper by two Islamic law professors based in Lahore in Pakistan. They are both professors of Islamic law, and they've written here a paper which is available on an academic website discussing these are the four most commonly used Islamic law books that are found to be relied upon by the courts of Pakistan to derive authentic points of Islamic law on a particular issue. Number one is the Hidayah. The Hidayah is a Hanafi fiqh book. Number two, the Digest of Muhammadan Law, right? So, and the two authors are Shahbaz Ahmed Chima, professor, PhD of law in Islam. The paper is called A Genealogical Analysis of Islamic Law Books Relied on in the Courts of Pakistan. So these are not my words. I am simply quoting two Islamic law professors, both with a PhD, who teach law, okay? And I'm just going to read to you what they said about the legal system in Pakistan. The other one is Sameh Ozer Khan, assistant professor, Law College, University of the Punjab. Okay. Now the Digest of Muhammadan Law. On page 26 of this Digest of Muhammadan Law, we have the following ruling with regards to infant sex. It states, if you have children in the room, you may want to move them out of the room. But yeah, they speak of fourth, when a man, now a man in Islam is defined obviously as a grown man. When a man has had sexual intercourse with a girl under the age of 9 years and he has ruptured the parts, I'll repeat that, you can figure out what those parts are yourself. When a man has had sexual intercourse with a girl under the age of 9 years and has ruptured the parts, it is unlawful for him to have further connection with her, quote unquote, sex. But she is not released from her ties if she is connected with him by marriage or by slavery. If no rupture has taken place, this prohibition is not incurred according to the most valid opinion. And thus, if he takes his infant bride to bed and he does not rip open her vagina, he is allowed to continue without any issues. But if he does, he remains married to this girl and she remains his slave and he has to look after her. But yeah, any comments or thoughts on that before I continue? Because I'll be providing more information from the Islamic law on this topic. Because this
Hey,
I want
Lloyd,
to say,
I'd like
yeah,
to add a few things to that. When it comes to not just child marriage, but child rape, if the child is a slave, of course, marriage is not required, and uh, they could rape a baby if she's a
yes,
slave without marriage. And of course, this is purely satanic. They can take, like we know, and I don't want to jump ahead, but if a husband doesn't pay the jizya and he's under Sharia, and let's say he has a 3-year-old daughter, they can take his wife and his little 3-year-old daughter away from him and sell them into sex slavery and dissolve his marriage, and they can rape his little 3-year-old daughter. That's perfectly legal in the Sharia. So, anyway, back to you, Lord. You're Mike.
That actually is true. That is defined in a different book. I'm just trying to find a different. Here we go. So let me continue. So I'm going to go back to the Reliance of the Traveler, and I'm going to go through a couple of different Islamic law manuals, highly regarded, commonly used Islamic law manuals, valid today. So this is about Quran 65:4 because there's a lot of confusion, and Muslims obviously are embarrassed. Well, they themselves generally are not embarrassed about it. They see it as perfectly normal because Muhammad did it, and it is illegal to question Muhammad. They just realize that this goes against Western law and Western morals, and therefore it causes them, shall we say, some degree of embarrassment and awkwardness. So therefore they want to deny this, but it's very, very true within their legal system. Quran 65:4. As for your women who have despaired of further menstruating, if you are in doubt, their waiting period shall be 3 months. And for those who have not menstruated yet, right? Not menstruated yet means you are too young to menstruate. Let's go see what the Islamic law, Reliance of the Traveler, section N9.1. There is no waiting period for a woman divorced before she had sex with her husband. Okay, there is no waiting period for a woman divorced before having had sexual intercourse with her husband. Right? Then it says in N9.2, a waiting period is obligatory for a woman divorced after intercourse, whether the husband and the wife are prepubescent, they have reached puberty, or one has reached puberty and the other has not. In other words, when the other is prepubescent. Intercourse means copulation, defined in section N7.7. So I'll repeat that. A waiting period is not obligatory for a woman divorced after intercourse, whether the husband and wife are prepubescent, have reached puberty, or one has and the other has not. So there is no, so the waiting period is not obligatory for a woman divorced after having sex if she is prepubescent. So I hope that clarifies. I'll be providing more of this just to settle this issue, but this is perfectly legal in Islam. Any thoughts
Hey,
on this?
this is the Maliki view, right? Do you have the
No,
for the
this is
Hanafi
across,
as
this is
well?
the ijma. This is the ijma. This is
That's
Shafi.
ijma.
This is the same
Okay.
across all of them. This is across all of them. I'm using
Yeah.
books from different schools because it's consistent. It's the ijma.
Hmm. Beautiful. You have the one from the Hanafi school as well?
Um, I have covered
Like
it in my
specifically
videos.
from Abu Hanifa. Yeah.
If you want Hanafi, then you go to the Hidayah. It's in the Hidayah as well. I have covered it in a previous video.
Yeah.
It's just that I'm going to skip over that now because the Hidayah is over 2,600 pages. It's
No, you
really,
don't
really
have to do
detailed.
that. You don't have continue, brother. I just if you had it
Yeah,
available, you don't have to do it right now, brother. Thank you so much.
yeah. So furthermore, it goes on, when a woman, this is section C 10 point, or E 10.3, when a woman who has been made love to performs ghusl, or the purificatory bath, she must repeat the ghusl if two conditions exist: that she is not a child, but rather old enough to have an orgasm. So in other words, if she is a child and not old enough to have an orgasm, she only has to do ablution once. So I guess that's a way to save water. And also they speak of indemnities. What if you damage a child? What if you damage her? What if you destroy her, her private parts? The full indemnity is also paid for injuries which paralyze these parts, or for injuring the peritoneal wall between the vagina and the rectum so that they become one aperture. So if the man takes his infant bride to bed and he tears open her vagina so that it exposes the anus, that literally rips that open, this is called a fistula. It is a horrible thing. It's a common issue, unfortunately, in a certain community. I'm sure you can figure out which one. This is actually discussed in multiple Islamic law books. They talk about this, that you can rip open the tissue down there, and yeah. So they speak of, then you have to pay some indemnity. Then the last I'll have on this is what's called the Bahishti Zevar, Bahisti space Zewar. There are 3 volumes. This is called Heavenly Ornaments or so on, but this is fiqh to educate women, very popular in Pakistan and India, called the Jewels of Paradise or the Heavenly Ornaments, a favorite with the people of the Indian subcontinent and the Indian Muslim diaspora all over the world. a comprehensive handbook of fiqh, of Islamic rituals and Islamic morals. And it says here, if a person has sexual intercourse with a minor girl, bathing is not obligatory upon her, but in order to get her into the habit, she should be made to bath. It then goes on, if a woman is underage, but not so small that if one has intercourse with her, there is a fear of the vaginal tissues tearing to such an extent that the vagina and anus will virtually come together, then by the insertion of the penis into her vagina, bathing will become obligatory on the man if he has reached puberty. However, if there is fear in a very minor girl, then insertion of the penis does not make bathing obligatory. And the final one is, if a man whose testicles have been cut off, in other words, a eunuch, but if a man whose testicles have been cut off inserts his penis into the back part of anyone, in other words, if he goes through the back door rather than the standard front entrance, or he puts his penis into the vagina of a woman, bathing will be obligatory on both of them if both are mature.
Wait.
Alternatively, yeah.
Sorry,
Sorry.
could you repeat that? I'm a bit shocked. Could you repeat the bit about the eunuch, please? Sorry, I'm a bit shocked. I
If a
just want to.
person whose testicles has been cut off inserts his penis into the back part of anyone, or in the vagina of a woman, so he says into the back part of anyone, male or female, right? Or the vagina of a woman, so you have a choice. You can either have a woman, or you could be shtipping anybody. Then bathing will be obligatory on both of them if both are mature. Alternatively, it will be obligatory on the one who is mature. This is legalizing homosexual sex.
Wait. What source is this? Sorry, could I just know the
The Bahishti Zevar, Bahisti space
B A
ZEW,
B A H
ISTI
ISTI?
space
Oh,
ZEWR.
it's Dio Bandi. Okay, yeah. Heavenly ornaments. What chapter? Which verse?
I don't know, just do a search on it. It's a PDF. Just search for it. Just look for back part of anyone or underage or sexual intercourse. So it's on my videos. I've got videos on this on the
Okay.
channel. So I have this covered in my videos. Or go to Seta International. Look up my video series on with Al Fadi. There you'll find I discuss this and I show the references on the screen. It's all there for anyone to download and look at for themselves. So any thoughts from anyone on this topic? Within Islamic law, infants are spoken of as suckling. Okay, so hold on, let me just go and get my references here. So actually, no, let me look up the word cradle. So infants are always referred to as suckling. And within the Islamic law, within the reliance of the traveler, and infants are referred to as in the cradle, an infant in the cradle, right? Infants are referred to as in the cradle. So, okay, before I go to Islam QA, let me go back here to this law then that is relevant here. This is law N11.2 in reliance. A husband who accuses his wife of adultery is disciplined. So a man who accuses his wife falsely of adultery is disciplined. This is a crime, right? You cannot accuse a woman of adultery, at least not if she isn't guilty of the crime. However, obviously, if she is guilty, she's guilty, then that's fine. But they say the man is disciplined if he accuses his wife of adultery, means to sleep with another man, right? So it says here, but you cannot accuse your wife of sleeping with another man when adultery is impossible. And when is adultery impossible? When is your wife not guilty of adultery, even if she has slept with another man? Well, that is such as when the person accused is a mere infant. So in Islamic law, you cannot accuse your wife of adultery when it is impossible, such as when your wife is a mere infant. In other words, you can sleep with her, but she could not, of her own volition, fight off another man, so therefore she's not guilty of adultery. So another man slept with her, but it's not her fault. This is within the Islamic law.
Is this the
right?
same source again, or is this a new one?
This is the reliance of the traveler, section N11.2.
I see that we have also Euclides on stage. I don't know if you want to ask something about this topic, Euclides. You have a question about this topic?
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so I was kind of asking the same thing of Al, because usually when I do bring several of these issues to people who do follow Islam, but usually the answer is, hey, these are extra texts and these are different branches of Islam. This is not in the Quran. Could you give a reference point to infant um, intercourse that may be in the Quran, or a form of prostitution or homosexuality that may be in the Quran, please?
The scholars do not consider the Quran complete. The Quran is insufficient. This is why they had to develop an entire corpus of texts around it, from hadiths to tafsirs to other sources that complement it, and then ultimately they had to explain it and define it within the Sharia. Muhammad made child sex legal because he had a 6-year-old wife. And Muhammad is the perfect example, and they cannot, under any circumstances, ascribe any imperfection to Muhammad. This is illegal. It is the death penalty to ascribe imperfection to Muhammad. So, for instance, I'm going to go to Islam QA. Right? This is the biggest Islamic advice site on the planet. Gets up to 400 million visits a month. Let's have a look. This is the ruling. This is fatwa number 22442. This is the ruling on marrying a young girl. And it says, marrying a young girl before she reaches the age of adolescence is permitted in the Sharia. It was narrated that there is scholarly consensus on this point. And then they mention Quran 65:4. In this verse, we see that Allah has made the iddah in the case of divorce of a girl who does not have periods because she is young and has not reached puberty 3 months. This clearly indicates that Allah has made this a valid marriage. So a marriage with a girl who is prepubescent is valid. They say here, Muhammad married Aisha when she was 6 years old, and he consummated the marriage with her when she was 9. And the Prophet married Aisha, and then they mentioned Sahih Bukhari, or sorry, they mentioned Da'if Bukhari and they mentioned Da'if Muslim. So they go through a variety of these Da'if Bukhari and Da'if Muslim hadiths to verify that this is legal, because Muhammad made it sunnah. And it says here, Abu Ubaid says that once a girl reaches the age of 9, then the marriage may be consummated even without her consent. But that does not apply in the case of one who is younger. Well, that's odd. Now, notice they say this is false because the schools come back and say there is nothing in the hadith of Aisha to set an age limit or to forbid sex in the case of a girl who is able for it before the age of 9. Any scholar who is not named Ghazali, Shafi, Hanafi, Maliki, and so on, right, the four Mujtahids Mutlaq and Hanbal, they can go and jump in a lake because they do not have the same rank, they do not have the same respect, they do not have the same level of knowledge. They are of an inferior class. This is on Islam QA that quite bluntly says this is perfectly legal and perfectly normal.